Between The Simpsons and Family Guy, there have been 1,249 episodes, and with that many episodes, some overlapping storylines is inevitable, especially when factoring in that Seth MacFarlane himself has said how The Simpsons was a direct inspiration for Family Guy.
It may have been inspired by Duff, but I like to think it goes in a different direction.
Which is something that The Simpsons have called out many times. But to be fair, Family Guy doesn't shy away from this, repeatedly joking about how much they've borrowed from them.
We act like we didn't take a lot from The Simpsons. We took a lot from The Simpsons.
So today I'm breaking down every time these two shows tackled a similar concept and decide who did it better. So let's start this list with Family Guy borrowing not one, but two Simpsons storylines. The dad becoming a beer mascot and the dog becoming one too. This happens in the Simpsons episode Waiting for Duffman from season 26 and season 14's Old Yeller Belly. And the Family Guy episode is Pawtucket Pete from season 17. So to make things flow a bit easier in this video, I'll always start with the Simpsons plot first. So the episode opens with Duffman thrusting his hips on a parade float right up until he breaks one.
Something's wrong with Barry.
Never use my mortal name in public.
So with Duffman out of action, the brewery company launches a televised competition to find the new face of Duff, and contestants are put through a series of challenges like pouring the perfect foamy head, crowd surfing, and shouting the iconic catchphrase.
Oh yeah!
Well, I guess that makes this guy Duffman.
Oh, do I get the confetti? Ow! Woohoo!
And at first, being Duffman is the perfect job for Homer. That is until he learns there's a massive catch. He's not allowed to drink the beer that he's promoting, and to enforce this, he's injected with a chip that prevents him from tasting even a sip.
Foamy Marge. I was licking my wife.
Despite this though, Homer throws himself into the role, doing public appearances and commercials, and the Duff sales skyrocket.
Turns out men like men who look worse than them selling them beer.
Homer is loving life as a celebrity mascot until one day, while riding in the Duff blimp, he looks through a telescope and notices all the damage that Duff beer is causing around Springfield. It turns out not drinking beer has given Homer the clearest head he's ever had. He realizes alcohol is actually bad and decides that with great taste comes great responsibility. And at his next big appearance, at a car rally, he swaps everyone's beer for non-alcoholic beer. But his good deed goes punished when the sober crowd turns on him, and the Duff owner tells Homer that the only way to fix things is to drink the beer. And that's when we learn that the chip was never real and it was all psychological. And even though he drinks the beer, he's still fired. Okay.
I finally made it. I'm a has-been.
So now let's talk about Family Guy's Pawtucket Pete. So after Peter's old boss Angela dies, two new executives take over the Pawtucket Brewery and start giving Peter increasingly demeaning jobs, like collecting recycling.
Well, at least make sure all the liquids are gone, please, before you throw them.
He's also tasked with taste testing the beer, which sounds good, but unfortunately it comes down the same chute as the trucker urine samples.
Trucker? Man, let's hope this one was an asparagus IPA.
Oh yeah, and we also find out who actually owns the brewery.
Smithers, who is that young go-getter?
That's a character from another show, sir.
Simpson, you say?
Pretty much, sir.
Now, this scene is pretty ironic considering the video we're making here, and it's not going to be the last Simpsons reference that Family Guy makes in this video. So, meanwhile, sales numbers are down because customers can't relate to the old mascot. But when the executives spot Peter drinking on the job, they decide he's the perfect replacement. So just like Homer, Peter becomes the new mascot, appearing in commercials and events, and just like Homer, Peter is loving being the new face of his favourite beer. And then when his bosses stop by his house, they're impressed by Peter's talking dog, and decide that he's perfect for Peter's new sidekick. But at their first public appearance together, Pawtucket Pete is completely upstaged by Hops the dog.
Let's hear more from the dog. Hops, Hops, Hops.
Peter is quickly demoted to sidekick status while Brian becomes the new face of the brand, and predictably, the fame immediately goes to his head.
Because of Beaglemania.
What?
My fame, that's what they're calling it.
Who's calling it Beaglemania?
Well, you just did.
Jealous and bitter, Peter sabotages a big parade by shooting down Brian's balloon, releasing helium all over town.
Brian, you're fired. What do you mean? This isn't my fault. My voice is impervious to helium.
So Brian is fired and the two apologize for being a-holes to each other.
How'd you get out of jail so fast?
I took a hostage. It's an ongoing situation.
So, who did it better? Like I mentioned earlier, Family Guy kinda copied two Simpsons episodes here. The other being Old Yeller Belly, where Santa's little helper becomes the Duff mascot. And they both even wear cool shades. It's not subtle. But for simplicity's sake, I'm just gonna compare the episodes where Homer and Peter become the mascots. Otherwise, this video would be like 10 hours long, and I don't know if you guys want that. So Homer becoming Duffman is such a perfect fit that I'm genuinely surprised that The Simpsons waited until season 26 to do it. There are a few decent gags here, like recreating the Game of Thrones intro with beer bottles and Homer doing the Duffman oath.
I shall take no wife, hold no lands, and father no children except for the wife and house and kids I'm already stuck with.
Another funny gag was when Homer tried to off himself using the museum props when he learns that he couldn't drink beer anymore. And there's also a callback joke where Homer says no one's ever died from a t-shirt cannon, only to smash Maude's portrait. And man, they just won't let Maude rest in peace, will they? That said though, it's not a great Simpsons episode. The ending feels rushed and Homer completely forgets his revelation about the negative effects of alcohol. And I understand you've got to have everything returned to the status quo by the end of the episode, but still, it was a little sloppy. As for Family Guy, there's some decent jokes here, like with Peter complaining to the guys that they'll never understand what it's like to be a sidekick.
I doubt any of you can begin to know what it's like to ride someone's coattails, to play second fiddle to some fat idiot.
And him hanging out with other commercial mascots was pretty funny too.
By the way, Tony, I'm sorry your wife was shot by Donald Trump's children.
Another funny joke is Peter actually enjoying being spat on.
Don't spit on my friend.
Hey, Brian, why don't you mind your own business?
But overall, I don't think that Family Guy really committed to the whole mascot concept. Homer's in full Duffman spandex with the capered beer can utility belt, for goodness sake. Peter just wore a hat and they didn't really do too much with it. Him being a mascot didn't really lead to anything particularly funny or interesting or really have any kind of message. There's a gag where they parodied a Corona ad, but still, they had already made that joke in an earlier episode. An episode that is actually on this list, in fact. At least with Homer, it feels like a bigger deal with the competition, doing the oath, and touring the Duff Museum, as well as him learning about the harmful effects of alcohol and how he's contributing to it. It wasn't fully fleshed out, but at least they tried. So I give this point to The Simpsons. So next, let's look at two episodes built around the same premise, which is the daughter wants to go to Mars while her disapproving mother pretends to be supportive, hoping it will never ever happen. And they happen in The Simpsons season 26 episodes, The Martian Chronicles, and Family Guy's Martian Meg from season 23. So starting with The Simpsons, and the family visit a research facility where they learn about the first privately funded mission to Mars. It's a one-way trip, and the selected colonists will leave Earth forever. Lisa is fascinated by the idea of boldly going where no girl has gone before. And believing this is her true purpose, she begs her mum to let her apply. And Marge immediately says no, but Homer gives Marge some pretty sage advice, which is if you don't support your kids' ambitions 100%, they will rebel. So Marge goes along with the plan and pretends to be supportive, assuming that Lisa will lose interest. She doesn't, and she starts her astronaut training and absolutely loves it. And that's when Homer and Marge move into phase 2 of their plan, which is signing up themselves. Lisa quickly catches on to their reverse mind games and tries to outplay them.
Pretty soon, they'll get sick of this and quit.
I'm getting sick of this. I think I'll quit soon.
But while Lisa is struggling with the daily monotony of astronaut tasks, Marge is thriving. 7 days pass and all the men are rejected, and both Marge and Lisa pass with flying colours. And what started as a bluff slowly starts turning into a full-blown competition between mother and daughter. But even though the launch wasn't scheduled for 10 more years, the scientists suddenly move it forward to Thursday. Too stubborn to admit their defeat, Marge and Lisa strap themselves into the rocket until they finally come to their senses.
This is the stupidest idea we ever had! Abort launch!
But as it turns out, the rocket wasn't even real.
We did plan to build a real rocket.
And that's one thing they can never take away from us.
That plan is our legacy.
And so they remain on Earth, and Lisa and Marge promise to work out their stubbornness, whether it's on this planet or another one.
It's my life! If I want to leave Mars and move to Venus, you can't stop me!
So now let's move on to talk about Family Guy's take on this idea. So a news broadcast announces that a local company is accepting applications for a one-way trip to Mars. Meg walks in excitedly to tell her mum that she's gotten them 2 tickets to see Dua Lipa. But Lois blows her off and says that she's too busy, and Meg later discovers that Lois went anyway, just not with her. Man, that's harsh. We're 23 seasons in and Lois is still being a terrible mother. Feeling unwanted on Earth, Meg applies for the Mars mission. And when she tells the family, Lois pretends to be supportive, fully convinced that Meg won't actually be chosen.
You see what I did there, Peter? That is some next-level jujitsu parenting right there.
Meg starts her astronaut training, which barely qualifies as training at all. Instead, it's just kind of a series of pointless tasks like choosing what movie to bring and practicing what your first words will be after stepping foot on Mars.
Did I do that?
Not bad. We would also have accepted, "What's up?"
And at the graduation, Lois is still convinced that Meg isn't going anywhere, especially when Seamus has chosen to go to Mars too. That is until the sergeant suddenly notices that he has wooden arms and legs and Meg is chosen instead. And that's when Lois drops the act and forbids Meg from going, but Meg ignores her. And I don't blame her. If I was treated like Meg on the daily, I'd have booked a one-way trip to Mars yonks ago. But surprisingly, her family are legit upset that she's leaving, to the point where she starts having second thoughts. But still, Meg boards the spaceship, ready to be the first human on Mars. But after seeing how upset her daughter really is, Lois tries to stop the launch. And when that fails, she climbs aboard herself.
Wait! Stop!
Mom?
Nobody shoots my baby into space!
The ship blasts off with Lois holding on for dear life, but a malfunction causes the ship to crash into the ocean. Meg and Lois somehow survive the crash and are rescued. So, who did it better? These episodes are shockingly similar. In both, a daughter signs herself up for a one-way trip to Mars while her mother pretends to support her, assuming that it'll never happen. And in both cases, they end up on the spaceship together at the very end. The big difference is the execution. The Simpsons spends far more time on the Mars training itself, with Lisa actually living in a habitat and learning what life on Mars is like, whereas Family Guy treats the concept more as a joke, with training taking place in an abandoned bed, bath and beyond, and arguments over which VHS tape to bring.
Can't I just bring my laptop up there with me?
No, because then I wouldn't have a job, stupid. You know what? Give me the tape back. You don't get a tape.
But the reason why The Simpsons really works better is because there's no B story, whereas Family Guy splits his attention between Stewie's subplot about being in a throuple with his stuffed animals and Meg going to Mars. As such, The Simpsons is allowed to develop the story more. Most importantly though is the emotional core, and is stronger in The Simpsons. Marge ultimately realises that she's willing to go to Mars because she can't stand the idea of being separated from Lisa. They love each other, but they don't always express it in the best way due to their stubbornness. Whereas with Family Guy, we're told Lois suddenly cares about Meg leaving, but we never actually see her get to that realization to really earn it. Like, she didn't care less about Meg in the beginning, but suddenly she does? Maybe if we saw her realizing how wonderful Meg is and all the things that she'll miss if she leaves, will make it more believable and the payoff would have worked. But it didn't, so this winner is The Simpsons. So for our next comparison, this is the rare case where Family Guy did it first, and that storyline is Homer and Peter becoming the Grim Reaper. And that happens in Treehouse of Horror 14 segment Reaper Madness and Family Guy's Season 2 episode Death is a Bitch. So the Halloween segment begins with Homer opening the door to Death, who has arrived to collect Bart's soul.
Bart, run like the wind!
Mom, it's wind.
Well, I've only read it in books.
And by the way, I just want to say that this Simpsons episode did come after, but Family Guy would later copy this exact joke later on.
It's probably just the wind.
The wind, dear.
Is that how you say that? I've only seen that word written.
So after a Benny Hill-style chase, Homer kills Death by smashing him in the skull with a bowling ball. So with Death gone, nobody in the world can die. So after dumping the bones in the trash, Homer tries on the cloak, and as a result, he has become the new Grim Reaper.
But I am not a Grim Reaper. Oh, I'll reap already!
Homer gets to work by crossing people off his list and quickly uses his newfound powers to his own benefit, like getting better seats at sports games.
Dad, were all those people on the list?
Oh.
Homer is loving his new job until he sees Marge's name on the to-die list. Homer does what he has to do and takes the body to a mountain and demands that God release him from his curse. Only then does God realize he's been had.
Hey, wait a minute. This isn't Marge. This is her fat sister, Selma.
Homer then bikes away from God, somehow outrunning the literal divine light, and returns to his very much alive wife. So now let's discuss Family Guy's Grim Reaper episode. So when Peter falsely declares himself deceased on an insurance form to avoid paying a hospital bill, Death shows up to collect his soul.
Which one of you is Peter Griffin?
He is.
Peter panics and runs, leading to Death tripping up and spraining his ankle.
Yeah, listen, don't help or anything. I'm totally fine.
Not really sure how a skeleton can sprain his ankle when there's no ligaments, but sure, we'll roll with it. Anyway, so just like in The Simpsons, with Death out of action, nobody on Earth can die, so Peter becomes the new Grim Reaper.
You have to be... Death!
And the first people on his hit list is the cast from Dawson's Creek.
I knew it. As soon as that show came on the air, I said, I'm gonna be the one who has to kill these kids.
It's true, he did say it.
Death forces Peter to board a flight with the entire cast and crash the plane. But when the moment comes, Peter just can't go through with it, although he does accidentally kill the pilots.
Geez, I probably should have worn mittens.
So with the plane nose-diving, actress Karen Black takes control and safely lands it. And at first, Death is pissed that Peter didn't actually kill everyone on board, but he's satisfied that at least the pilots died. So Peter is allowed to live. So, who did it better? It is funny because modern day Peter is a serial killer who has harmed countless people due to his inane antics.
Have you ever killed a man?
Reddit says I've killed 39, but that seems low. Why do you ask?
But here in the earlier seasons, Peter can't bring himself to kill innocent people, even when his own life is on the line, and the few deaths that do happen aren't intentional. Homer, on the other hand, absolutely loves being Death. He takes real joy in the job and even massacres people who aren't on his list. If Family Guy did this episode today, I guarantee that Peter would be abusing his powers just as much as Homer did, if not a lot more. So the Simpsons segment has some great moments, from the Three Stooges gag to God's literal light chasing Homer, only to then stop for a passing train.
Doggone it, I am too old and too rich for this.
But come on, Death is a Bitch is a Family Guy classic. There's so many great jokes here, and Norm Macdonald is amazing as Death. His dry, sarcastic delivery gives the character so much personality.
I'll be back really, really soon. Is he joking? Okay, see you later.
And although Death returned in later episodes, Norm only voiced him here, with then Adam Carolla taken over. And I do feel that we lost a lot of the character's charm once Norm stopped voicing him.
Yeah, that felt good, driving me hard on the couch like that.
So with Death's hilarious sarcastic personality and Peter being so lovable in this episode, Family Guy definitely takes the win here. So moving on, and we come to 2 episodes built around the same premise, meeting a Muslim person and suspecting them of being a terrorist. And these episodes are Season 20's My Pods and Boomsticks and Season 11's Turban Cowboy. So starting as always with The Simpsons, a new family has moved into the neighbourhood and they're called the Bin Ladens and have relocated from Jordan, but befriends their son Bashir, who is instantly bullied for being Muslim.
Tell us where you came from so we can punch you back there. I'm gonna punch you extra hard cause I secretly think you're cute.
Bart steps in to save Bashir from a beating and the two quickly become close friends, and Bashir is so likeable that he even charms Homer.
Bart never told me he had a handsome teenage brother.
However, when Homer's bar pals finds out that Bart is hanging out with a boy that's a Muslim, they warn Homer to be careful.
This Bashir kid is Muslim, and therefore up to something.
Homer brushes it off at first until he starts watching 24 and fully buys into its paranoia. The guys tell Homer to invite Bashir's family over for dinner to confront them, so the Bin Ladens visit that night for dinner, and Homer awkwardly tries to bait them into revealing themselves as being terrorists.
What's the matter? Don't like the taste of freedom?
Offended, they leave, and Marge rightfully tells Homer off.
I'm sorry. It's just so fun and easy to judge people based on religion.
So Homer goes over to apologise, but when he arrives, he peeks into their garage and sees Bashir's father handling dynamite. So now he's fully convinced that he was right all along, and Homer begins spying on them, and not so subtly.
So, now that we're alone, death to America, right?
After piecing together what he believes to be a plot to blow up the mall, Homer races off to stop it. But what he doesn't realise is that Bashir's father is actually a demolition expert hired to do the job legally. So Homer storms into the mall, grabs the explosives and dumps them into a river, only to then blow up a bridge instead. So realising that he jumped to conclusions, he invites his neighbours back over and apologises for his ignorance. So now let's talk about how Family Guy handled the same topic. So after a skydiving accident lands Peter into hospital, he befriends a Muslim man called Mahmood.
I never seen a hat like that before, so I'm very scared of it.
The two become fast friends and Peter introduces him to his other drink buddies, but his pals can't get past the fact that Mahmood can't talk about boobies or drink beer. And what can you talk about if you can't talk about boobies and drink beer? But despite their complaints, Peter continues to hang out with his new pal and loves learning about Muslim culture. Peter even converts to Islam and fully immerses himself in their faith.
I even started wearing leather sandals with way too long toenails. See how the big ones are getting yellow?
Ah, yes, very Muslim.
Just when you think that the episode is going to go in the same direction as The Simpsons, subverting stereotypes, Mahmood is revealed to be an actual terrorist. Quagmire and Joe catch on and try to convince an oblivious Peter that Mahmood is dangerous.
See, I told you Mahmood was bad news. Those guys are all bad news.
Once Peter learns the truth, he goes undercover to expose their plans. And just as he learned that Mahmood's target is Quahog's bridge, he's revealed to be wearing a wire.
Sorry, can you repeat all that? I just had an itch right by my microphone.
Microphone?
Peter is forced to drive Mahmood and his explosives to the bridge, and Peter tries to talk him out of it. But just before Mahmood can press the button, Joe stops him. And so Mahmood is arrested and the bridge is saved. Well, not really.
Tell you what, let me call Horace and tell him to get our table ready.
Peter, did you just...
Let's go.
So, who did it better? These episodes tell very similar stories, but the key difference here is the twist, because in The Simpsons, Homer assumes the worst only to realise his prejudice was wrong. But in Family Guy, Peter befriends a Muslim man first, only for his friend's suspicions to be completely vindicated. My Pods and Boomsticks directly tackles Islamophobia and critiques how Western media perpetuate stereotypes. Homer lets fear, ignorance, and his friend's bigotry to cloud his judgment. And this episode was even praised by the Council on American Islamic Relations and the Muslim Public Affairs Council. Family Guy, meanwhile, goes in the complete opposite direction. It opts for the obvious reveal and leans fully into Muslim terrorist stereotypes. But that's Family Guy in a nutshell, isn't it? Pushing offensive stereotypes is the show's bread and butter. Not that The Simpsons isn't guilty of that either, but to stay on track, I like that Peter wasn't prejudiced at first and actually went out of his way to learn more about a different faith and culture, only for them to undercut it with that low-hanging fruit reveal. Their takeaway ends up being that mistrusting Muslims is correct. But look, I know I may get some people complaining that I'm taking this too seriously, and I get it. Nobody is watching Family Guy for moral lessons here. But the point of this video is to compare two similar episodes from two different shows. Overall though, The Simpsons just handled this idea better. Some of my favourite jokes include Bart tasting lamb for the first time.
Whoa! All these years I've been petting lambs when I should have been shoving them in my mouth.
And of course, Homer's painfully obvious attempts to baiting his neighbours into saying something incriminating was very funny. So, the win goes to The Simpsons. So for the next comparison, the topic is parodying holiday Hallmark movies, and this happens in season 32's A Springfield Summer Christmas for Christmas and Disney's Hulu's Family Guy's Hallmark Channel's Lifetime's familiar holiday movie. And my goodness, try saying that 5 times fast. So a stressed movie producer, Mary Tannenbaum, is sent to Springfield to put out a fire on a Christmas movie that's falling apart. Mary hates Christmas, but she wants the big promotion, so sucks it up and heads to town, staying at an Airbnb that just so happens to be the Simpsons house.
I'm just here to put out a few fires and get home to the big city and my surgeon fiancé.
While grabbing coffee, she meets Seymour Skinner, and the two instantly butt heads over big city arrogance versus small town charm.
I'm sorry, is something funny?
Oh, just you city folk and your legume milks. That and this Pearls Before Swine comic.
The town is being transformed into a Christmas set by a very drunk set decorator who's incapable of building more gazebos. Because there's not a Hallmark movie without gazebos. She bumps into Skinner again, but they strike up a deal. If he helps to build gazebos, she'll pause production for this lettuce and tomato festival. So with production back on track, Mary is ready to return to the city until she gets a call from her boss.
You want me to stay for the entire shoot? And if I leave, I won't get the promotion? And I have an annoying way of talking on the phone?
Despite her handsome doctor boyfriend back at home, Mary finds herself falling for Seymour. But when she repurposes his beloved summer festival into a Christmas set piece, he's understandably pissed. That is until a snow machine explodes, trapping them together inside a gazebo. And first they bicker, but their iciness starts to thaw.
Sure is hot in here.
Perhaps we should huddle closer. For coolness.
The next morning, Skinner escapes and brings her coffee, and just as they're about to kiss, they're caught by her boyfriend. And things go from bad to worse when the town turns on Mary and the movie set catches fire. It's here where we learn why Mary hates Christmas, and it's because her father died while watching Jingle All the Way. By the way, Jingle All the Way is one of my all-time favourite Christmas movies, and it's not just because of Phil Hartman. Mary has come to love Springfield, and when everyone finds out all the nice things she said about the town, they come together to rebuild the set. But now she's in a predicament, the ultimate Hallmark decision. Does she choose her perfect doctor boyfriend or the small town principal / carpenter? And duh, she chooses Skinner, who immediately and hilariously calls her out for abandoning her amazing life.
Pick him. He's 1,000 times better than me. He's a surgeon. I'm getting dizzy just thinking about your poor decision-making.
And so, Becky goes back to her handsome doctor. So moving on to Family Guy, and Lois is a big city career woman working for a massive pie corporation.
Here's your protein bar breakfast to show you're too busy to eat a normal breakfast. I assume you'll be sleeping at the office tonight?
Affirmative.
She's sent to a quaint little town to steal a secret pie recipe from a baker named Aunt Maud, but upon arriving, she crashes her car and ends up at the local garage, where she meets the mechanic, Peter.
Oh, you've got working man hands. We don't get that in Cityopolis.
Since Peter can't reach the top shelf to fix her car, Lois is forced to stay in town for a while, and Peter shows her the charm of a cutesy backward town.
If you give it a chance, I think you'll find a lot to love in Townsville.
And just as Lois starts falling for him, she discovers that Peter actually runs Aunt Maud's pie business.
Where did you get that recipe? I mean, just as a fan, not a corporate spy or anything.
And like Mary, Lois begins to fall in love with the town and its people, but she's still under pressure from her boss.
Yeah, the people here are actually very nice.
Look, forget about those hillbillies. You're taking too long.
When Peter drops by unexpectedly, he discovers Lois's plan to steal his recipe.
So this whole time our love was fake? Like COVID?
What?
And feeling guilty, Lois confesses her love for Peter in front of the entire town. And just like in the Simpsons episode, Peter points out that she's giving up a massive opportunity by staying with him.
I could never stand between you and your dream of a 6-figure salary, 5 figures post-tax.
So she returns to the big city and becomes CEO, but she quickly realizes her mistake and runs back to be with Peter, only to slip on ice and become paralyzed.
It's just a lot, is all I'm saying.
So both of these episodes are send-ups for those cheesy holiday movies that get pumped out every single year, poking fun at their many cliches. But the question is, who did it better? I did a full breakdown of the Family Guy Christmas special on my Timeline channel, and I gave it a generally positive review. I thought some of the jokes were funny, like Peter pretending that his wife died.
But the memory of Patty,
Susan,
kept me going.
she lives down the street.
God rest her soul.
They both have a court date tomorrow.
That said though, the biggest issue is the same problem with many of Family Guy's modern episodes. It overly explains the jokes. They just outright say the cliches and tropes it's parodying constantly. It's so meta and self-aware that it feels the need to remind us every 5 minutes that this is a Hallmark movie.
Find a man or a dog, those being the only options since this is a Hallmark movie.
We get it, you don't need to keep telling us. And yeah, the Simpsons episode does that a little too, but it does so more subtly. It still skewers the cliche of the big city career woman finding love in a small town, but it does so more cleverly. I especially liked that this episode is about making a Christmas movie, while Mary herself unknowingly is living out the exact plot of one. In my mind, that just kind of elevates it a bit. I thought it was also interesting how the Simpsons were essentially background characters to this new character that we've never seen before. That said though, the family still plays a role in it. Like Homer tries to make as much bank as possible from the movie, like making white snow from literally everything, and Marge absolutely living for Becky's story and just loving the tropes of those cheesy Christmas movies.
These movies are for moms and their wine and a cozy throw blanket and a candle that smells like a pine tree.
Therefore, A Springfield Summer Christmas is a great modern episode. The Simpsons definitely takes this win. So next up, we've got 2 episodes centered around hiring a housekeeper who plans to kill the wife and take over the family. And that's season 11's It's a Mad, 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 Mad March, and season 20's All About Alana. Otto is about to marry a super cool chick called Becky, and on paper, they seem perfect, except for one massive issue.
Don't tell Otto, but I'm not into heavy metal and he loves it.
And as we all know, Otto's entire personality is rock and roll. So when Becky refuses to walk down the aisle to a Poison song, Otto is forced to make a choice.
Is heavy metal or you?
And with nowhere else to go, the Simpsons invite Becky to stay with them. And at first, Marge loves having an extra pair of hands around the house until the family start preferring Becky's cooking.
Becky, your potatoes are the best I've ever had. Oh, God.
Marge gets even more jealous when their kids start bonding with Becky.
Isn't it wonderful to have a hip female influence in the house?
Yes.
That's when Marge's sister warns her that Becky is clearly going to kill her.
Never let an attractive woman into your house. All they ever do is usurp your family and then kill you.
And from there, Marge spirals. She becomes convinced that Becky is plotting to murder her and steal her entire family. And these fears are amplified when the brakes of her car are cut. And later when she walks in on Becky giving Homer mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, which she immediately assumes is kissing.
Drop the cone, sugar!
Whoopsie.
Take her away, boys.
Marge is declared utterly insane and she makes her escape.
I'm not insane.
When she returns home, Marge finds Becky has tied the kids up and appears to be preparing to sacrifice Homer, only for it to be revealed that they're just making a movie using Bart's video camera. Duh! It turns out that Homer drained the brake fluid himself, and Marge apologizes to Becky for losing her mind, only for Becky to then casually reveal that, yes, she was actually planning to kill Marge.
I even thought of a good place to bury you. But then I didn't have a shovel, so I went to the hardware store and they have 6 different kinds, and I was like, later.
So now let's move on to Family Guy, where Lois is teaching piano to a student called Alana, who dreams of going to Juilliard but can't afford the tuition. So Lois hires her to help her around the house for some extra money, and just like Becky, Alana quickly wins over the family with her cooking. Alana quickly starts plotting to replace Lois and even tries to seduce Peter.
Santa? I can almost see your bum through your nightgown.
But just like with Homer, the way to his heart is through his stomach. She then starts spending time with the kids to the point where Lois gets jealous and asks her to leave. Unlike Becky though, Alana doesn't just think about killing the wife, she straight up hires a hitman to do it.
Please don't let 2 white women make a podcast about my disappearance.
With Lois gone, Alana and Peter are about to get married, but just before it's made official, Lois crashes through the church window and stops the wedding just in time.
I've never seen a man love his wife as much as Peter loves you.
God, you need to get out more.
Alana is arrested and sent to jail. So, who did it better? I was honestly hesitant to even include this comparison since both episodes are very heavily inspired by All About Eve and The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, but even so, it's still fun to match up. I really like both episodes, but they handle paranoia very differently. In The Simpsons, Marge becomes paranoid early on, and we are then led to believe that she's completely losing it. Becky seems harmless, and the scenes like her giving Homer CPR feels like a misunderstanding. But the twist is that Becky was actually planning to kill Marge. And Marge isn't crazy, and she's just happy to hear it. It's a funny reveal.
Well, that's a relief too, knowing I'm not crazy.
In Family Guy, we're straight up told by Stewie's narration that Alana wants to replace Lois. There's no twist reveal. Both have some good jokes, like the family fully believing the obviously fake goodbye note.
Dear family, I've decided to leave you all and become a lesbian.
Wait, we can just do that?
And a great gag is when Lois somehow throws herself through the church window despite still being tied up. And Peter thinking Alana was Santa did get a laugh out of me too. And on the Simpsons side, Marge's delayed comeback to Becky is just so me.
Why do I always think of the perfect thing to say when it's too late? Shut up, Becky.
And the callback to that line later on in the episode is hilarious.
Shut up, Becky! There, I finally said it.
And while Becky is a fine character, I do think that Alana gets more memorable moments, like scissoring with Meg, doing a duet with Brian, and her singing Lois's version of the theme song. They're all great moments.
On which we used to rely.
So, this was a tough call, but I'm gonna go with Family Guy here. Let's now look at episodes centered around the families packing up and moving to a ramshackle farm only to sell highly addictive substances. And that's Season 11's E-I-E-I Annoyed Grunt and Season 11's Farmer Guy. And it has been done in other cartoons since South Park, but I digress. So, when Homer challenges the wrong guy to a pistol duel, he and the family sneak away to the old farmhouse where he grew up. They are ready to start their new life as farmers, but the only problem is that Homer has no experience in farming. He just can't get anything to grow, especially not his cocktail of tomato, tobacco, and gummy bear seeds.
You watch me, I'll grow something out there.
Not if you're planting gummy bears.
Don't!
So Homer decides to give Mother Nature a little boost and calls in a favour from his old pal.
Plutonium? Gee, Homer, isn't that kind of risky? Yeah, I guess you're right. It's not.
Using plutonium as a fertiliser, the crops finally start growing and the tomatoes look super juicy, but the only problem is that it tastes awful. Not only that, but they're super addictive, and instead of tossing them out, Homer sees dollar signs. His tobacco becomes so addictive that even a cigarette company wants in, offering Homer $150 million for the rights.
How much?
Well, let's say $150 million.
We all agree that $150 million is an insult. The least we can accept is $150 billion!
And Homer really should have taken that deal because the addicted cattle eats all the crops except for one. And to make matters worse, the tobacco company steals the remaining tobacco plant, and with the farm destroyed, nothing left to sell, the Simpsons head back to Evergreen Terrace.
I don't know why we ever left in the first place.
Now let's move on to Family Guy. Crime is on the rise in Quahog, and after the Griffin house gets burgled, Peter decides the town just isn't safe anymore, so he sells up and buys a farm. So the Griffins pack up and move to the country. Peter quickly adapts to the farmer lifestyle, or what he thinks is the farmer lifestyle. He spends his days doing pointless farm chores, like shepherding cows across the road, befriending a guy called Larry, and telling endless dirty farm puns.
Chris, you gotta spread that seed until your sack is empty. And Meg, you gotta clear away all that brush so he can plant it deep where it needs to be.
He's so busy doing all the things a farmer is supposed to do, except, actually growing stuff, and as a result, they quickly run out of money. Then, as if things weren't bad enough, a tornado hits and forces the family to take shelter in the basement, where they discover a fully operational meth lab. And realizing that this is their ticket to easy money, the Griffins start cooking, and before long, they're rich. But when Lois sees how badly their product has ruined Quahog, she realizes what a massive mistake they've made. Peter is reluctant to return to Quahog until the lab explodes, and so they return back home and everything resets back to normal. So, who did it better? Farmer Guy definitely has some good jokes here, like Brian thinking he's being taken to a quote-unquote farm and starts panicking.
A farm with big open fields, Brian, where you can just run and be free and no one will ever hurt you.
No! No! You'll never take me alive!
And Peter having a best friend called Larry whom he never actually speaks to.
Peter, I'm dying. This is the last time I'll ever see you.
Bye.
And I like the irony of the Griffins fleeing Quahog because of the crime, only to end up contributing to it. That said though, E-I-E-I Annoyed Grunt is a straight up classic. And yes, it is in that era of The Simpsons where they started to lean into more outrageous, zany stories, but I just love this episode so much. There's so many great gags here, from Homer squirting ketchup on Marge like Zorro, to Carl and Lenny's awkward chat.
I hear that.
Not to mention Ralph's hilarious review of Tobacco.
Oh, Daddy, this tastes like Grandma.
I know the ending is super ridiculous with crazed animals breaking in and actually talking, and it is stupid, sure, but it's fun stupid. So I give this one to The Simpsons. So our next comparison revolves around the same premise where someone falls down the stairs, gets seriously injured, and the siblings try to cover it up. And that happens in Season 8, My Sister, My Sitter, and Season 8, Brian Griffin's House of Pain. Inspired by the adventures in babysitting books, Lisa sets out to become a babysitter herself, and after successfully saving Rod and Todd from a moth attack, Flanders recommends her to other parents in town.
Sleeping quietly after a bug attack, and Todd's as dry as a bone. Lisa, you're a wonder.
And Lisa gains such a reputation for being responsible that even Homer and Marge trust her enough to babysit her older brother.
Dad, help me out.
Take it like a man, boy, and do everything your little sister says.
Bart is naturally pissed that his little sister is babysitting him and immediately sets out to make her life hell. And he lives up to his name by being a complete brat, pushing Lisa to her breaking point until his taunting backfires and he accidentally falls backwards down the stairs. Bart ends up with a dislocated arm and a serious head injury that he only makes worse by headbutting the door. Lisa considers calling for help, but terrified of getting into trouble, she panics, and instead she sticks Bart in a wheelbarrow and hauls him across town to a shady doctor. Things go from bad to worse when Bart's body tumbles down a hill right in front of the entire town.
She's murdered her brother, and she's trying to dump the body in a harbor.
Well, duh.
By the end, Bart is patched up and apologizes for being such a jerk.
I'm sorry I was such a jerk last night. Guess I sort of ruined your babysitting business.
And despite everything that went wrong, people in Springfield still want Lisa to babysit.
Didn't you hear I almost killed my brother?
You did? What time can you come over?
Next, let's discuss Family Guy. So Chris is teasing Meg with her diary and she chases him around the house when they accidentally knock Stewie down the stairs. Knowing they'll get into massive trouble if their mum finds out, they cover up his head.
Hey, how's the food, Stewie? Oi, blimey, it's alright, delicious, I do declare, waka waka.
Instead of getting help though, they let Stewie's head wound fester.
I think the maggots have evolved to the point that they've developed space travel.
And while Mother of the Year Lois doesn't realise anything's amiss, Peter does, and actively helps to cover it up.
Say hello to everyone, Stewie.
Aww.
But it gets so bad that they realise that they can't put off treatment any longer. And instead of just taking him to the hospital, they toss him under a moving car while Lois is backing out. Eventually they do take him to the hospital and Stewie somehow doesn't die.
I just found out it's November. What the happened?
So, who did it better? Both of these episodes feature a very similar situation. A boy accidentally falls down some stairs, suffers a serious head injury, and a sibling tries to cover it up. However, the way Lisa handles it compared to Meg and Chris is very different. Lisa is terrified of getting into trouble, but she's genuinely worried about Bart and tries to help him by taking him to Dr. Nick. Whereas with Meg and Chris, they hilariously just slap hats on Stewie's head. They couldn't care less, even when his brains were exposed and flies were buzzing around. And Stewie at the end, finally waking up, is so funny. Family Guy is deliberately mean-spirited, and the humour just comes from how awful everyone is. But The Simpsons takes a more grounded approach, as they usually do, because anyone with a sibling knows that when you hurt them by accident, you are terrified about your parents finding out.
I am so disappointed.
The episode really puts you in Lisa's shoes and you really feel her anxiety. And Lisa babysitting led to a lot of funny moments, from Rod and Todd being scared of ladybugs, to letting Ralph dress himself.
I dress myself.
There's just so many great moments, like Krusty coming back to the house for a bite of the giant sandwich that was delivered.
Okay, we'll call it even if I can just have some of that big sandwich. I'll come back.
I really like both of these episodes, but I've got to go with The Simpsons here. So for the last comparison, we're looking at the Amnesia storyline, where Marge and Peter forget about their spouses and leave them. And that happens in season 17's Regarding Marge and Big Man on Hippocampus. Marge wins a housekeeper for the day to come and tidy the house, but not wanting to be judged, Marge starts cleaning before they arrive. And while scrubbing a tiny stain, she mixes together a cocktail of cleaning chemicals so potent that she knocks herself unconscious and smacks her head. When she wakes up in the hospital, Marge realises that she doesn't remember anyone, and it turns out she has amnesia and Homer has to reintroduce himself.
I'm lucky to have such a kind, uncle.
I'm your husband.
What?
And just as they're wheeling her out, Marge is horrified to see that Homer is strangling Bart.
You strangle your child?
Yeah, but he's cool with it, right?
Marge being absolutely appalled by Homer choking their son is hilarious, because as fans, we just casually accept that it happens all the time. So it's always so funny when the show actually acknowledges how insane it is. So Homer tries to jog her memory by showing her around Springfield and reintroducing her to everyone.
Who are those freaks?
She remembers Maggie first, then suddenly recalls Lisa, Bart, and even Milhouse, but she still can't remember Homer. To spark her memory, Homer tries to get his snuggle on, but she quickly shuts that down.
Mr. Simpson, I don't even know you. I'm not making love with you.
So Homer goes all in, trying to make her fall in love with him all over again, buying gifts, taking her out for dinner, and even bringing her to a put-put golf course where they first made love.
Oh, you loved it, especially when the windmill came around and whacked your butt. Brrr.
The best thing that ever happened to me was forgetting about you.
An offended Marge tells Homer that he needs to move out.
Boo!
That works for hiccups, not amnesia.
I know. I just thought maybe... Boo!
And during some speed dating, she hits it off with a charming chap and they go out for drinks. And he seems perfect, right up until she says this.
I've got amnesia and I have 3 kids.
Goodbye.
Homer is flabbergasted that this man would turn down such an amazing woman and gives him an earful, not realizing that Marge overheard everything.
I may not know much about you, but you sure know a lot of wonderful things about me.
And during their drive back, Marge hears beer and instantly regains her memory. So now onto Family Guy. During a game of Family Feud, Peter gets shoved into a table and loses his memory. And just like with Marge, Peter has to be reintroduced to his family.
This is Meg, your daughter.
No!
No, Peter, that's not your catchphrase.
Oh.
And Lois tries to nudge his memory by showing him their honeymoon video, and we get another reference to that Corona commercial that I mentioned earlier. Boy, they really love that joke, don't they? Anyway, Peter has to relearn basic things like how to drive using GTA and even what a knife is.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
This is also a knife.
Oh.
And when Lois catches him trying to sneak a peek, she tells him that as her husband, he doesn't have to spy. The two make love as demonstrated by The Rock, and Peter loves it so much that he wants to do it with everyone. And I mean everyone.
And if sex with the rest of you is half as good as it was with her, then I think we're all gonna get along just fine.
Peter loves sex so much that he even invites other women around to do it. And not liking the idea of monogamy, Peter leaves Lois and keeps the home. And as a newly single bachelor, he throws a party and starts fooling around. But this also means that Lois is single too, and Quagmire immediately swoops in to ask her out. He invites her around and charms her to the point where they end up in bed together. As this is going on, Peter regains his memory by the giant chicken knocking him over the head several times. And just as Quagmire's dream is about to come true, Lois says this.
Nice to know I'm in the arms of a trusted friend.
You trust me?
Suddenly developing a conscience for the first time in his life, Quagmire can't stay hard, just in time for Peter to arrive. So, who did it better? I get that Amnesia storylines are hardly original. It's still fun to compare them anyway. So you know what, I actually prefer Family Guy's take on this. Regarding Marge is great, but Big Man on the Hippocampus is just so freaking funny. Everyone acting shocked that Meg's bizarre joke about Peter sleeping with her always gets a big laugh out of me.
Meg, that's awful.
Jeez, you open your mouth for a joke once and that's what you come up with?
That's messed up, Meg.
I was just trying to be funny.
Also, Quagmire desperately trying to get himself going again is hilarious, as is Peter spying on his own wife undressing, and his phone call with Carter was also funny.
Who's this? Who's this?
Carter, who's this?
I don't know.
Are you the guy?
I'm a guy.
I want my drugs.
Regarding Marge is also a fun episode, but if I had to rewatch one, I'd pick Family Guy's. So in total, that's 3 wins for Family Guy and 6 wins for The Simpsons. Do you agree with my picks? And can you think of any other similar storylines that I missed? If there are enough, I might do a follow-up to this video. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and thank you especially to my amazing patrons who really help support the channel and myself. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll smell you later.